Okie dokie, our next topic is gonna be the guiding principles, and as you can see, it's gonna be worth 6 questions on the actual exam, so it's a bit more important to know about these. So let's jump into it and see what they are about. The guiding principles are recommendation according to ITIL that can guide a specific organization or any organization actually under any circumstances. It doesn't matter what you are trying to achieve, it doesn't matter what projects you are running or how your organization is built up. These guiding principles generally apply to any industry, any service provider, any organization, even for the implementation of ITIL for itself. So let's see the first one, which is focus on value. Everything we are doing within the organization should be somehow focused on value. It should somehow create directly or indirectly value for any stakeholder. If we are doing something which is not generating any value for anybody, we should actually question why are we still doing that? Because it might be a very old thing that, we have always been doing things like this. Probably heard sentences like that. And that's the kind of stuff we should get rid of if we don't need it anymore, right? So anything you are doing, it should somehow be valuable to somebody. The next one is start where you are, which is all about thinking about our current situation before we jump into anything big. Like when we are running a project, we might want to have a look at what we already have in place, like, resources, server capacity, people, knowledge, and stuff like that. Try to reuse our existing resources whenever possible instead of, reinventing the wheel all the time over and over again. I have seen this in real life far too often, so I would strongly advise to have a quick look, do some baseline assessment and understand your current situation before you are trying to, evolve and go into a new situation, improve into a new situation. Then we can talk about progress iteratively with feedback. If any of you out there is, familiar with Agile, this is probably gonna ring some bells because it is all about this iterative approach of continuously building and delivering stuff, not planning the big deal like in waterfall project management. Rather do small steps and have a continuous learning experience and get a lot of feedback from your customers and stakeholders. Okay, so this one basically says don't do everything at once, take the baby steps instead and, try to get as much feedback as possible from your customers and stakeholders because those are most valuable learning points for you. Collaborate and promote visibility is all about, collaboration, as it already says. It's all about cooperation and co-creation of value, as we already said it before here in this exam preparation course. It's all about involving the right people on customer side, on our side as a service provider, and also on stakeholder side or supplier side to get the right and factual data, which helps us to take the right decisions in the end. Because let's say I'm a manager. How am I supposed to take any kind of decision if I don't have factual and correct data on my table? So we need to measure and we need to get the help of different stakeholders and parties in the service provider and other organizations. And then once we have that data, I can actually take decisions, informed decisions based on that data. A very strong tool nowadays available for promotion of visibility is a Kanban board. A lot of people of you out there probably been working in agile environments, so you already know about that because frameworks like Scrum or Safe are also using it. But it's actually a big visual information radiator, or Beaver they call it. And it's all about making sure that we can visualize all the things that our, let's say, team or organization is working on is displayed on this board. You can do it digitally, but most of the people are doing it on an actual physical board with sticky notes and stuff. And it helps to see, to visualize what is actually happening within that team. And that helps also further the, completion of the job, right? Think and work holistically is all about having an understanding of the big picture. Because nothing in the service provider or customer organization ever stands alone. There is no single component which is not somehow connected to other components. And the best to think about this would be a CMDB, configuration management database. We're going to talk later about that. So nothing is ever standing alone. So if we want to run a successful initiative like a project or an improvement or anything, then we need to have an understanding about how the components which we try to improve or upgrade are connected to other components. And I'm not just talking about technical stuff here. No, I'm also talking about people or knowledge. Technical stuff like configuration items, software, servers, or whatever it is. So we need to understand the bigger picture of how our initiative or our work is going to make the whole better, okay? Don't promote silo thinking here, because that happens far too often, that managers only think about their own little department or their own little team, how to make themselves look good, instead of considering the good of the whole company. Because in the end, we are sitting in the same boat, right? So we want to pull the same strings and row in the same direction. And that only happens if I have an understanding of the big picture, even though I don't need to have all the details about every other part of the machinery, every other gear. It's enough to have an understanding, a holistic understanding on a high level. Keep it simple and practical speaks for itself, I believe. It just says that we shouldn't overcomplicate stuff, right? I mean, if something can be done the easy way, why should we choose the hard way? Nevertheless, again, I've seen this happening a lot of times, that people overcomplicate things just because, their technical expertise makes it possible and they want to look good because they can accomplish this super complex thing. But in the end, it doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of resources. So use the least possible steps to achieve your goal, whatever you are doing. And think about the outcomes, because if you focus on outcomes, it will help you understand the necessary steps to get that outcome or output, depending, right? So don't think about all the steps up front. Think about what is it I need to achieve, and think about what is the easiest way to achieve this. Bill Gates once said that he will always hire a lazy person to do a difficult job at Microsoft. But why? Well, because he says that a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. And in the end, it's kind of true, although it sounds a little bit drastic right now, but the essence of it is still applicable. Try to use the least possible steps to accomplish your goal instead of overcomplicating things. Last but not least, let's talk about optimize and automate, which is all about maximizing the value of human work by automating everything else as far as possible. Now, sometimes it doesn't make sense to automate everything because it can be very, very costly, but it makes sense to do the kind of robot work, which is repeatable, which happens a lot all the time, that can be automated. You can use software applications like automated testing tools and stuff like that, which help you reduce the need of human interference in these ones. And they are actually also much faster than involving a human, which allows the people then to concentrate on much more important work. For example, they could be developing things or doing other things which are more valuable to the organization.